The galaxy heard Earth's 11-second message, provoke again and be erased. The chamber smelled like cold stone and someone else's air. 52 delegations sat in curved rows above the main floor, and the silence between them had the kind of weight that pressed against your ears and made you aware of your own breathing. One Mirosi observer occupied the highest gallery, very small, very still, watching the way something watches when it has watched before and already knows how this ends. The ceiling was clear crystal. Stars burned beyond it, cold and far away, indifferent to everything happening underneath. Earth's delegation sat in the second smallest chairs. 3 people, plain gray uniforms, no rank marks, no decorations. They carried nothing into the chamber except themselves, and they had been sitting quietly for 40 minutes before the first other delegation arrived. One of them was reading something. She did not look up when the doors opened. She did not look up when the room filled. She had not looked up once. That was the detail Counselor Reth Owen of the Kavani could not stop thinking about. The Galactic Conclave had stood for 11,400 years. In that time, it had heard empires announce their own names like prayers. It had heard species beg at this floor for rights, for territory, for recognition from a body that moved slowly and forgot nothing. It had heard votes taken 50-2 on border resolutions that moved whole populations like furniture. And it had heard the quiet, polite thank yous of delegations who went home afterward with their hands folded and said nothing more about it. In 11,400 years, it had never heard what it was about to hear today. Owen knew this because he had spent the last 4 days reading a document that should not exist. 9 pages. No registry number, no filing date in any conclave archive. It had come to him through Earth's diplomatic office at 300 3 days ago, delivered by a junior attaché who looked like he had also not slept, who set the document on Owen's desk and said only, "Director Owen asked me to give you this before the session," then left. Owen had read it once and not believed it. He had read it 6 more times and believed all of it. He was standing at the primary lectern now. His hands were not shaking. He had checked them twice on the walk from the corridor, and both times his hands had been steady, and both times he had felt grateful for this in a way that surprised him. Supreme Executor Veldroth of the Vrethkai Dominion sat in the witness chair to his left, broad and armored in ceremonial Dominion plate, with the bearing of someone who had given difficult news to many rooms and had never once been the one to receive it. He was looking at Owen. He was not looking at Earth's delegation. Owen set the 9-page document on the lectern. He asked his first question. "Supreme Executor, can you confirm that your fleet received a transmission at 4:12 station time, 14 days ago, in Corridor 7 Pale?" Veldroth's answer came after a short pause, not a long one. "Confirmed." "And that the transmission was received by all vessels in your advance force before they crossed the 4th marker buoy in that corridor." Another pause, slightly longer. "Confirmed." The chamber was very still. Owen made a note. He did not look up from the note. The next question, the one Veldroth would think about for the rest of his life, sat waiting at the bottom of the page. Owen was not ready to ask it yet. There were 11 questions before it, procedural, factual, each one building the record. He moved to question 3. "Stay close. The last question is the one that matters, and it hasn't been asked yet." 31 hours before Counselor Owen asked his first question, Admiral Sun Dar M letter 1 ECD, L.A. was drinking cold tea in a room that did not exist. Or rather, the room existed. The tea existed. The cold was real, and Dar M letter 1 ECD L.A. noticed it and drank the tea anyway. What did not exist in any conclave navigation file or Earth's public infrastructure registry was Pale Station itself. The facility appeared in exactly one document in the known galaxy. Owen was holding that document now. At 3:50 station time, 31 hours ago, Dar M letter 1 ECD LA had been holding a paper cup of tea that had been warm when LT. Analyst Yemi Acer poured it for him and had gone cold in the time it took the outer buoys to finish their sweep. 1,400 ships, sir. Acer stood at the console to his left. She was 26 years old and had been in signals intelligence for 3 years, and she delivered the number the same way she delivered all numbers, flat, complete with nothing extra attached. Entry vector confirmed, Vrethkai Dominion registration marks. Transit speed is consistent with passage, not patrol. DRM letter 1 ECD, LA looked at the display. Pale Station occupied a specific fold in the electromagnetic shadow of Corridor 7 Pale's outer asteroid belt, where long-range scanning became unreliable and positional data went soft. The station had been built there for that reason, among others. Its hull absorbed the scatter frequencies that would otherwise make it a bright point on any survey map. It had been built slowly, one module at a time, over 19 years, and each module had been logged in Earth's public infrastructure record as decommissioned before shipping. A supply depot in the Ganymede orbital yards. A relay platform from the Inner Belt Maintenance Program, an old processing unit from a mining operation that had closed. All of it real, all of it decommissioned, all of it here. The station had 340 people on it. DRM letter 1 ECD. LA had served with most of them for more than a decade. He looked at the display for another moment, then he picked up his tea and drank it. It was cold. He set the cup down. Case designation, he said. Case 7, sir. Asair checked the display once more, though she did not need to. Exactly. He was quiet for a moment. Case 7 was the highest tier in Pale Covenant's response architecture. Below it, cases 1 through 6 covered smaller incursions, boundary violations, single vessels, survey probes, the quiet gray area movements that any active corridor collected over time. Earth had never needed to activate any of them. They had been built anyway because Pale Covenant was built to cover everything it could imagine, and some things it hoped it had imagined wrong. Case 7 was 1,000 ships, or more entering Earth-registered space, with confirmed military registration. The display showed 1,400. Flag Director Owen, DRM letter 1 ECDLA said, "Tell him it's Case 7. Asair sent the flag. 30 seconds later, confirmation came back. Director Milo Owen, Earth Signals Intelligence, had received the flag and was awake. 3 minutes after that, the transmission was ready. It went out at 4:12 station time. 11 seconds of audio on all open galactic frequencies. Galactic Standard first, then 4 regional dialects used in Corridor 7 Pale's neighboring sectors, then silence. You have entered protected space. Pale Covenant is active. All vessels will hold position or be considered a hostile incursion. This message will not repeat. No declaration, no warning shot, no second message. The Vrethkai fleet did not hold position. DRM letter 1 ECDLA set down his cup. He had known they probably wouldn't. Case 7 had a second layer, and the second layer had been in position for 6 days. Commander Ifoma Chuka was already at her station on the far side of the operations room, hands on the console. She had a photograph in her left sleeve pocket, folded once, her daughter at age 4, taken the week before Chuka had shipped out. The photograph had been in that pocket for 19 months. She never touched it during a shift. She would touch it after, if there was an after, and the weight of knowing it was there was enough to carry her through whatever happened in between. Her hands were very steady. In the electromagnetic shadow behind the asteroid belt's third band, 38 vessels began to move. Each one had been built in the Ganymede orbital yards. Each one was in Earth's public infrastructure record as decommissioned. Each one had been here, in this exact position, for 6 days, waiting with the specific patience of machines that have been built to wait for one thing. The next 19 minutes were not part of any public record. They were part of Pale Covenant. Here is what Pale Covenant is. It is not a weapons system. It is not a treaty. It is not a military program with a budget line and a department head and a briefing schedule. It is a stance, the formal, documented, 312-year-old answer to a question the Conclave never thought to ask. What happens if Earth decides to answer? The Conclave had not asked because it had never needed to. Earth was quiet. Earth was small by galactic measure, a single inhabited world and a handful of stations and outposts scattered across 3 corridors. Earth was the species that said thank you when the vote went 50-2 and went home. In 312 years of Conclave membership, Earth had submitted 11 formal objections and 0 military communications. It had never threatened. It had never postured. When the Rithani Accord reclassified Earth's outer territories without consultation, Earth's delegation had nodded and said they would review the language. When the Colward expansion pushed the Corridor 7 Pale boundary 40 astronomical units into Earth's charted space, Earth's delegation had said the same thing, and gone home, and not come back with anything except a new set of polite objections the following cycle. The conclave had read this as acceptance. It was not acceptance. It was time. Earth recorded it, Earth filed it, Earth waited. Every vote that went 50-2. Every session where Earth's delegate spoke last and was thanked quickly, politely, and forgotten. Every border adjustment passed without consultation, every corridor reclassified, every dismissal written into the record in the smooth, even language of procedural governance. Earth took all of it and put it somewhere, not with anger, not with grief. With the same calm that a person uses when they understand something the room does not yet understand, that in the long run power is not announced. It is shown. Once, clearly, and then it does not need to be shown again. Owen had understood none of this at 3 a.m., 4 days ago, when the 9-page document arrived on his desk. He had understood some of it by 4 a.m. By 6 a.m., he had pulled Earth's full 312-year membership file from the conclave archive. It was large. He had not expected how large it was or how detailed. Every session attended, every vote logged. Every statement made by Earth's delegations over 3 centuries, indexed by date and subject and outcome. He had started at the beginning. The early years were unremarkable. Earth was new to the conclave. Their delegates asked many questions, offered careful opinions, voted thoughtfully. They made friends. They lost votes. They came back. Standard behavior for a young member species finding its footing. Then the Rithani Accord happened, in Earth's 47th year of membership. An internal border reclassification that affected 3 corridors, including 2 of Earth's registered transit lanes. Earth had not been consulted. The vote was 48-4. Earth had voted against it, along with 3 other smaller species, and then Earth's delegate had thanked the chamber and left. Owen had read Earth's formal objection, filed 3 weeks after the accord passed. It was polite, it was precise. It noted specific articles of conclave charter that the accord appeared to conflict with. It asked for a review. It was 11 pages long and had clearly taken significant work to produce. The conclave's response was a form acknowledgement, logged 4 months later. Earth filed a second objection the following year. Same response. Owen set the file down. He picked up a cold cup of something he had poured himself at 2 a.m. and set it down again without drinking. He stood. He sat back down. He opened the membership file to year 89 and kept reading. By the time he reached year 200, he had stopped counting the dismissals. He had started around year 150 to notice something else. Something in the pattern of Earth's responses, not to the dismissals themselves, but to the years after them. Earth's delegates kept coming back. They kept sitting in the same chairs. They kept voting, even on resolutions they had no chance of affecting. They kept filing objections that would not be answered. They kept going home. And they kept building something. He did not know at year 200 of the file what they were building. He only knew from reading the file in sequence that the quality of Earth's presence in the conclave had a texture to it that he had not noticed from the inside. Patience was the obvious word, but patience implied waiting. What Earth had been doing felt more like planning, like a person who has decided the outcome they want and is quietly arranging every piece they can reach without announcing what they're arranging. He did not sleep that night. At some point between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m., someone knocked at his office door and then opened it before he answered, and Owen looked up from the file and found Observer Sale standing in the doorway. She was very small. She was 4,800 years old. She had been observing conclave sessions for longer than most member species had been members. She did not knock on doors as a general rule. The fact that she had knocked at all meant she had decided to, and then decided the announcement of her arrival was more useful than the privacy she was giving up. She looked at the file spread across his desk, at the 9-page document beside it, at Owen's face. She said one thing. Then she left. Owen sat in his office for a long time after that, staring at the doorway, thinking about what she had said. He had not written it down. That was the thing Owen kept coming back to, sitting alone in his office with the file spread across his desk and the cold cup untouched beside it. Sale had said one thing, and then she had left, and Owen had not written it down because he had been too still to move. He sat with it the way you sit with something when you know that writing it down will make it permanent, and you are not ready for it to be permanent yet. She had said they were never going to announce it, that was the point. 7 words. He had been reading Earth's file for 4 hours, and somehow he had not gotten there himself. The patience was not accidental. The silence was not a failure to speak. It was a choice made at the beginning, held across 3 centuries, by a species that understood something the conclave had never thought to ask. If you tell the room what you are building, the room will try to stop you. So Earth told the room nothing. They thanked the chamber, they went home, they built. Owen pulled the file to year 247 and kept reading. The engagement report from Commander Ifoma was 4 pages long. DRM letter 1ECDLR read it at 5:03 station time, 43 minutes after the engagement ended. He read it once from front to back without stopping. Then he read the last page again. The final line said, "Pale Covenant performed within projected parameters. No secondary activation required." He set the report on his desk and sat for a moment. Through the station's one exterior viewport, the asteroid belt was the same as it always was, slow-moving rock in long elliptical paths, the kind of view that made time feel different out here, stretched and patient. He picked up the report and walked it down the hall to Director Milo Owen's secure channel terminal and transmitted it. Then he went back to his desk and picked up his tea. It was warm now. Someone had replaced it while he was reading. He did not know who. He held it in both hands and looked at the viewport and did not think about very much. 3 corridors away, in the conclave's emergency communications relay, Director Owen received the report at 5:12 and read it standing up. He read it twice. He made one note in the margin, in his own handwriting, in the small, cramped script he used when he was writing for himself rather than the record. They only had to hear it once. He placed the report in the Pale Covenant file. For the first time in 312 years, the file was open. By year 289 of Earth's membership file, Owen had stopped reading in order. He was moving through it the way you move through a building when you are looking for a specific room, and you know it must be here somewhere. He would jump forward 10 years, read a session transcript, jump back, check an objection letter, forward again. The pattern was always the same. Earth attended, Earth voted, Earth lost. Earth filed its objection. Earth came back the next session and attended again. No anger, no threats, no walkouts, no dramatic speeches, just presence repeated across decades with the particular quality of someone who has decided to outlast the situation rather than fight it. There were no flags, there were no broadcasts, there were no threats. What there was, buried in a budget allocation from Earth's Inner Belt Infrastructure Program in year 201, was a line item that Owen almost missed. A decommissioning note for a relay platform. Standard language, standard amount, standard destination. He checked the destination. It matched a coordinate set in Corridor 7 Pale. He went back to year 189, found a similar line, a processing unit from a mining operation, same destination cluster. He went back further, year 171, a supply depot from the Ganymede Orbital Program, same cluster. He sat very still for a moment. Then he started a new list. By the time he was done, he had found 38 separate decommissioning entries across 180 years of Earth's public infrastructure records. 38 items, all logged as retired, all sent to a cluster of coordinates in Corridor 7 Pale that no conclave registry showed as occupied. 38. He put the list down. He picked up the cold cup again, and this time he drank from it without noticing it was cold. On the morning of the session, Owen arrived at the chamber 45 minutes early. Earth's delegation was already there. They had arrived before him, before the emergency mediators, before the recording staff. 3 people in plain gray uniforms, seated in the second smallest chairs at the far end of the main floor, arranged in the same arc they always used, and they were quiet in the way that people are quiet when they have been here long enough that the room is familiar. One of them was reading something. Owen did not approach them. He went to the lectern and set down his materials and checked the order of his pages for the 14th time. 9 pages. He knew them by now. He knew the founding preamble, the case structure, the response tiers, the specific language Earth had used to describe their position in the conclave. A member in full standing, entitled to the same protections afforded all member species, committed to the principles of the body, and to the principle that those protections, once promised, must be real or they are nothing. The last word of that sentence was the one he kept going back to. Nothing. Veldroth entered at 8:20, 20 minutes before the session began, which was how Dominion executors entered rooms, early enough to be settled, late enough to be noticed. He was broad. He was in full Dominion ceremonial plate, which added about 12 centimeters to his apparent size and was designed to do exactly that. He walked to the witness chair and sat in it the way someone sits in a chair when they expect to stand up soon. He did not look at Earth's delegation. Owen noticed this. He noticed that Veldroth had scanned the room when he entered and had looked at the mediators, at the gallery, at the recording consoles, and then had not looked at the three people in the plain gray uniforms at all. As if he had decided before he arrived that they were not the relevant part of this room. The chamber filled, all 52 delegations. The emergency mediators took their seats. Sale appeared in the highest gallery, already still, as if she had been there for some time. Owen checked his pages one more time. He cleared his throat. He began. The same cold stone smell, the same borrowed air, the same weight in the silence that pressed against you and made you hear your own breathing. You are Supreme Executor Veldroth of the Vrethkai Dominion. You have commanded 9 annexations across 600 years of Dominion expansion. You have sat in rooms like this before on the other side of the questions, and you have watched other species sit in the witness chair and answer things they would rather not answer, and you have understood this as a function of power. The powerful ask, the less powerful answer. You sent 1,400 ships into Corridor, 7 Pale 14 days ago. You did it because the Corridor was unregistered in any active treaty, because no conclave registry flagged it as protected space, because other species had moved through exactly this corridor for 300 years without anyone stopping them, because quiet, in your experience, means available. Quiet means unclaimed. Quiet means the species on the other end of it has decided not to use what it had. You did not know about Pale Covenant. Nobody outside Earth's defense structure did. Supreme Executor, Counselor Owen's voice is even. He has not looked up from his notes. Can you confirm the number of vessels in your advance force when you entered the corridor? 1,400, you say. He makes a note. And following the transmission at 4:12, the one you have already confirmed your fleet received, can you confirm the action your fleet took? The chamber is very still. You answer, not quickly. You answer because the record requires it, because the session requires it, because you are bound by the same procedural rules you have used to bind others, and because somewhere in the last 47 minutes you have understood that this was, in fact, the point. Owen nods. He makes another note. He does not hurry. He has been doing this for 47 minutes and he is very good at not hurrying. No hesitation, no anger, no mercy. How many vessels did Earth deploy in response? 38. The room does not make a sound. Or rather, it makes the sound rooms make when 52 delegations all decide at the same moment not to move. And Earth's losses during the engagement. A pause. 0, you say. And the engagement lasted 19 minutes. Owen makes a note. He sets his pen down. He looks at you for the first time since the session began, directly, without performance, the way someone looks at you when they are deciding whether to say the last thing. Supreme Executor, the transmission Earth sent at 4:12 stated that Pale Covenant was active and that all vessels should hold position. Your fleet received that transmission. Your fleet did not hold position. Before I ask my final question, I want to make sure the record is complete on one point. He picks up the 9-page document. This document was drafted 312 years ago. It has been maintained, updated, and held in Earth's closed defense records for that full period. It has never been filed with the Conclave Registry. It has never been announced. It has never been used as a threat in any diplomatic context. It has never been referenced in any public statement by any Earth official in 312 years of Conclave membership. He sets it down. My final question. In your assessment, as a military commander, as someone who has reviewed the engagement data from Corridor 7 Pale, as someone who has now heard this document read aloud, was Earth's response to your fleet's entry unexpected? 7 seconds. You know the answer. You have known it since the engagement report was entered into the record this morning. You know that 38 vessels were in position 6 days before you arrived. You know that Earth flagged your advance 6 days before you crossed the first buoy and moved their assets into place without announcing it and waited. You know that the transmission was not a warning in the way warnings are meant to work. It was a courtesy. The outcome was already arranged. You know that Earth absorbed 1,400 ships with 38. You know that Earth took 0 losses. You know that the document Owen is holding is 312 years old and was simply there, the way a fact is there, existing without needing to be explained until the day someone needed to learn it. No, you say, it was not unexpected. The chamber holds that answer for a moment. You are not under arrest. You will not be expelled. When this session ends, you will stand and bow and walk out of this chamber on your own feet and return to Dominion space and resume your duties. Nothing procedural requires otherwise. The record does not need you imprisoned. It needs you here in this chair answering accurately for the full required duration. 47 more minutes. You will confirm every answer asked of you. You will leave when you are permitted to leave. You will carry this room with you when you go, and you will never, for the rest of your command, mistake quiet for empty again. That is the containment. You lost something harder to name than a war. At the far end of the main floor, one of Earth's 3 delegates turns a page. Counselor Reth Owen of the Kavani walked out of the chamber at 1840 station time. He stood in the corridor for a moment without moving. The walls were pale stone, very cold. The ceiling was high enough that the far end of it was dim. He had been in this corridor hundreds of times and had never noticed how high it was. He thought about 312 years. He thought about 11 objections. He thought about every session he had attended where Earth's delegate had folded their hands and said thank you and left. And he thought about what leaving had meant, what home had meant, what building something in the quiet of 312 years without telling anyone what you were building had required of the people doing it. He thought about a line in the Covenant's founding preamble. A member in full standing, entitled to the same protections afforded all member species, committed to the principle that those protections, once promised, must be real or they are nothing. Sale came out of the chamber behind him. She passed him in the corridor without stopping. She was very small. She walked with the particular slowness of something that has no interest in rushing because it has watched long enough to know that rushing changes nothing. She said without looking at him, "The galaxy heard 11 seconds. It will not forget what came before them." She kept walking. She turned a corner at the end of the corridor and was gone. Owen stood alone. The stone walls. The cold, the high ceiling. He stood there for a long time. On Pale Station, in the electromagnetic shadow of Corridor 7 Pale's outer asteroid belt, Admiral Soon Dar letter 1 ECD, LA was reading LT. Acer's updated buoy report on the next 3 corridors. It was thorough. Acer had flagged 2 points of interest, a slight irregularity in the sensor returned from Corridor 9 West, and a new shipping pattern in the outer lanes of Corridor 11 South that had not been there 6 weeks ago. Neither was urgent. Both were worth watching. DRM letter 1 ECD, LA made 2 small notes in the margin. He set the report face down on his desk, sat for a moment. Through the viewport, the belt moved in its slow old paths, rock and silence, and the deep patience of things that have been doing this long before anyone was watching. He picked up his tea. It was warm. Someone had replaced it again. He did not know who. He held it in both hands, the same way he had held the cold 131 hours ago, and the warmth worked its way into his palms, and he drank from it slowly. He finished it. He set the cup down. Down the hall, someone laughed at something. A short, quiet sound. The kind of laugh that happens in a place where the work is going well and people are not afraid. DRM letter 1 ECD, LA did not look up from his desk. He pulled the buoy report back toward him, turned it over, and read it from the beginning.